Hello and welcome back to Take a Knee with Mike and JD. I'm JD.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be making our picks for Week 6 of the NFL season. So just a recap to go over last week. It's the first week that I won the picks, at least for the week. I went 10-6 and Mike went 8-8. So
Bit of a rough week all around for me.
Yep, so I was able to... I closed the 7-game lead that Mike had to a 5-game lead. So overall, after last week, Mike is 36-27-1, and I am 31-32-1. So I'm almost back to 500, and I'm only a couple of games down. So a couple more weeks like this, and I'll be right back with you.
It's a big week for me, this one. I got to pick up
Even your worst week, you still finished 8-8. Like, you still finished at 500. Like, you take that week probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
The big games that we picked different. You picked Green Bay and I had New York, which New York won. I picked the Jets. You picked the Dolphins. I picked the Titans. You picked Washington. So those are the ones that I beat you on. Was there any ones that you outright beat me? You picked the Saints and I picked Seattle. So that was the game.
Oh, yep.
That was the one game that we picked different that you won. So head to head, I was 3-1 at least. So. But anyway, so for this week, like I said, this is obviously Week 6 of the NFL season. So for our first game is our Thursday night game. It is Washington at Chicago.
I think this will be pretty close. I also think this will be another awful Thursday night game. Like, I don't know how much Amazon Prime paid for these games, but fuck me. Like, I hope it wasn't much. Like, it just, every week you look at, like, I will watch this game with more interest than the other Thursday night games because, the Bears are in it, so it means something to my division. But, yeah, just two bad teams. And I feel a bit weird saying that because I don't really think you can say the Packers are a good team at the moment, but these are bad teams. I'm taking the Bears in by 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think the Bears are better than Washington is right now. I think Chicago played a little bit better than they are in the beginning of the season. I don't think they're the worst team in the league. There's obviously a better argument that the Steelers are worse than them, but Washington, it just doesn't seem like they're a very good team, and it seems like they're starting to throw Carson Wentz under the bus there. So, who I can win?
That was bad.
Yeah, especially because Chicago's at home. I'm also gonna take Chicago in this one.
So our next game is the San Francisco 49ers at Atlanta Falcons.
So what's funny about this one is this is a 1 p.m. Eastern game for a West Coast team. So they're basically playing at, 10 o'clock their time. So it's a really early game for the San Francisco players. I think San Francisco is a little bit better than Atlanta, but Atlanta's played some pretty good football so far this year. They're a mediocre team, but they stay in their games. Because of the factor Atlanta's at home in San Francisco, their players' clock is going to be a little bit off. Typically, when a West Coast team comes out east, the game's not till 4 p.m. Eastern. So to at least them, it's a 1 o'clock game, and the Eastern team, it's 4 o'clock game. Because it's earlier, I'm going to go out and pick Atlanta in this one.
Yeah, okay. I'm going the 49ers. Despite all of that you just said, I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta gets it because they're going pretty well. They are at home, and then you made some good points there about the time and that kind of thing. But I just the 49ers look very good at the moment, and they've got a bit of momentum behind them. So 49ers in a close one.
Yeah, once they got Jimmy G back after that first game when they were bad, they've started to roll a little bit. But
yeah.
The next game is the New England Patriots at the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, look, I find this a tough one, and I don't know. I think this could go either way. I'm going to pick the Browns based on them being at home, and I think it just depends on what the game script is. Like, Ramondre Stevens had a huge game, and if that keeps up, maybe the Pats get home. But yeah, I'm going to stick with the Browns.
Yeah, it's funny because you have the Patriots sort of barely lose to the Packers, and then they turn around last week and absolutely destroy Detroit 29-0 at home. So New England's one of these teams that we don't like. What are we going to get week to week? They're such a, obviously they're coached by Bill Belichick, but it's just this conundrum of a team. I think like you think that they're done, but obviously like any of those teams, they usually stay within it. I think how they're playing right now, I think I'm going to have to go New England in this one. I think it should be a pretty good game. But Cleveland has a really good running attack, but I've seen them sort of lose a little bit of momentum the last few weeks, and New England should feel pretty good coming off that big win against Detroit. So I'm going to go New England.
Nice. All right. So our next one is New York Jets at my Green Bay Packers. Give me some good news.
Yeah, I can't see Green Bay losing 2 games in a row. The Jets came off a comeback win against the Steelers, and then they absolutely beat the shit out of Miami. But the thing that goes Green Bay's way is that they're playing in Lambeau. So I think, besides the playoffs, they're hard to beat in Lambeau. So, I think the Jets probably hang in this one because the Jets have a lot of momentum. The Packers were leading last week, but I can see Rodgers using that game last week as fuel to ignite that fire on the team a little bit. So I'm going to go with Green Bay in this one. I think this should be, based on how the teams are playing, this should be a pretty entertaining game. I think it probably would be somewhere in the low 20s. I think scoring wise, but I think it'll be an entertaining game nonetheless.
Yeah, look, I agree with pretty much all of that. I'm picking the Packers. If you asked me this after the last Packers game, I would have definitely said the Jets. But I do think this will be a good game. The Jets are a vastly improved team this year. I think it's kind of a one-score game, but I'm sticking with the Packers. Based on the fact they're at Lambeau. I think there's some crazy stat around, the limited amount of back-to-back losses LaFleur has had, especially coming into a home game. I just can't see a way that the Packers lose. It's the kind of game if we do lose, all of a sudden we're in big trouble. But I think, the Giants outplayed us. Rodgers was bad last game. Rodgers usually responds after that kind of stuff, especially when he starts to get a bit of criticism. He likes to come out and be able to do the championship belt and throw it in everyone's face. And I think it's a big game for Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. I think that was ridiculous how underutilized they were used, especially with how much they got limited touches, but they were having big runs on all their touches. So I think this is a bit of a get right game. That's what I'm hoping. Our next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, this one is a hard one to pick. Not because I think both teams are good, but because I don't know what these teams are yet. Again, like we always say, like Indianapolis should be a good team, but they're just not playing well at all. They are 2-1 now, and Jacksonville beat the Chargers and then didn't play very good. They played Philly really good, and then last week they lost to Houston. So it's kind of like who wants to take this game almost. It's like two teams that don't play very well. Who's gonna step up and play? Indianapolis did come back and beat Denver last week, but that was one of the worst football games I've ever watched in my life. So, Indianapolis can't win in Jacksonville. Jacksonville keeps beating them in Jacksonville, but can they win in Indianapolis? Based on how Indy's playing right now, I think I'm going to have to take Jacksonville in this one. I think Jacksonville probably comes out and learns from their stinker last week because they played they played pretty well this whole year until last week. So I'm going to take Jacksonville in this one.
Yeah, look, agree with everything you said. I too am taking Jacksonville for those same reasons. And it does always, like, I second guess myself whenever I pick the Jaguars because you're just so used to them not being good, but they're playing well, you know. So yeah, Jacksonville.
All right, our next game is a big one for the NFC North. It's the Minnesota Vikings at the Miami Dolphins.
Yep, this is another game, much like the Thursday night game that I'm looking forward to watching. You know, based on our division, I am picking the Dolphins. I'm picking the Dolphins, and I'm hoping the Dolphins. I think, you know, they would have been pretty shocked by the loss last week, and I think there'll be some big games from Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. On the latter there, I'm hoping so for my fantasy team. So I think it'll be a close one-score game, but I'm going the Dolphins.
I'm going to take Minnesota in this game. I think Minnesota is the better team right now. They're playing better. I think Miami, they're kind of in a sort of free fall right now. They lost the last 2 games. They seem a little bit out of sorts without Tua. And, you know, Tua, you watch the highlights, especially from this year, you know, he does miss throws, but the team just looked different when he was running that offense, though. So, especially when Teddy got hurt last week, I'm just going to have to... I think Minnesota is the better team, and they should probably win. So, chalk me up for Minnesota.
Too easy. Now, the next game we've got is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Saints.
Yeah, you know, Cincinnati isn't the team that we all thought they were, especially coming out, off the Super Bowl. You know, Joe Burrow didn't get to play in the preseason. He obviously started the year bad. He's played a little bit better. You know, the Saints are at home, but, you know, again, I don't know what the Saints are, so... You know, I would prefer the Saints to win, you know, obviously division-wise. You know, in case the Steelers somehow pull it out this week, they'll be tied with Cincinnati. But I think I just have to go with Cincinnati in this one. That's what my gut's telling me.
Yeah, look, isn't it interesting that both Super Bowl teams are just really struggling? You know, they both seem to have a bit of a hangover there. That being said, I am also going to take Cincinnati. I can't trust the Saints. I don't know what they're going to deliver, and I feel like there is more chance of, you know, Burrow having a big game, the Bengals kind of shaking off a bit of whatever's going on with them, than the Saints coming over the top.
All right, so our next game is the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants.
Look, I think this is another one of those games which, if you looked at the start of the season, it would be, you know, it would have been an easy pick. You know, it would have been the Ravens, but the Giants are much improved. I am saying that I am going to take the Ravens. I think the Ravens are a better team, even though the Giants are playing well. And I do wonder if, you know, how much the travel and that will have impacted the Giants on their way back from London, and also, you know, how much kind of gas they put into victory over us there. So I'm going to take the Ravens.
I'm going to flip on that. I'm going to take the Giants. I'm just not... Besides their first game and kind of their second game, Baltimore, before they blew it to the Dolphins, they seemed like, okay, Lamar Jackson's out here. He's going to have an MVP year. He's going to get a huge payday. The Ravens are going to go to the Super Bowl, stuff like that. They've sort of fallen down back to earth slightly. I mean, they did lose to the Bills, who are a very good team. They blew another lead to a very good team. And that's what you can't do when you're also a good team. You can't blow leads to Miami and Buffalo. You know, if you have them on the ropes, you want to be able to finish. So they're playing in New York. Now, New York isn't a great passing offense. The Ravens, you know, give up a ton of passing yards with their secondary. But I think New York rides their momentum. I think they're feeling good about themselves right now. I do think it'll be a good game. I'm hoping it'll be like a great running type game where a lot, the running back takes center stage with Barkley, and then obviously Lamar Jackson running and Dobbins and things like that. So, but I'm going to take the Giants on that one. And I'll announce the next one also, just because I want you to answer it first. So the next game is
you're really not going to want me to answer it.
Oh, I know. Is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, look, unfortunately for you, I think the Bucks get up here and pretty comfortably. Just I think obviously the Bucks are just a better team. I think the Steelers, like you got to be licking your wounds after the Bills blowout. Sorry mate. The Bucks are going to get this one, I think.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Tampa Bay. I think the only thing sort of going for the Steelers is, I mean, Pickett looked pretty okay last week. The Bucks are the better team. The other thing going for the Steelers is them playing at home. Now, obviously, they've lost their home game so far this year, with not ever leading against the Patriots and then falling behind or getting ahead of the Jets and then losing that game. But if the Steelers are going to win, it's most likely because they're at home. But I think this should be a more entertaining game than the Bills last week. I don't see the Bucks as the juggernaut they were when Tom Brady went there 2 years ago. But they're obviously still a pretty good team and a top team in their division. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay as well.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, over to you to look at the next one.
Sure. So the next game is Carolina Panthers at the Los Angeles Rams.
Look, I think the Rams get up here. The only hesitancy I have in that is that, with Matt Rule being fired, you see some teams that have a bit of a bounce back when their coach gets fired, like for various reasons. I think sometimes, they might be playing to get him fired, and so once he's gone, they kind of go back to normal. I don't think that was the case here, but I think also, once a coach goes, the players know there's no more excuses. Like, you know what I mean? It can't be, oh, well, it's the coach, so they pull it out. But I think the Rams need it more and probably have more motivation than the Panthers do. The Rams really need to win this one, and I think they do.
Yeah, it's I agree with everything. You did make a good point. So, you see when a team loses a bad coach, they get somebody else in who changes and tweaks things. They seem to go on a run. So, but it's also the flip side of it is you're bringing in a whole new coach who either has to adapt to what the previous coach was doing or trying to implement changes in a few days to go out and then play another NFL team. Where, yes, the Rams haven't been great this year, but they still have the firepower and the players to still beat you. So Carolina's just kind of had bad luck games, I feel, all year. And I think this one's probably another one, especially with, and we say with LA playing at home and they've lost, their home game so far. But I'm going to take Los Angeles as well.
And I heard that Matt Rule apparently for the remainder of his contract will be getting $800,000 a month. So
yeah, something like that. It's crazy.
You don't ever want to see someone get fired, but it is hard to feel too bad for him.
Right. It was he had a 7-year deal or something like that. Only he got fired only 3 days in.
Crazy like that.
Yeah, because they signed him. You don't really see when somebody gets signed, come in and coach, you might see a 3 or 4 year deal. So to get a plus 5 years, that's guaranteed. Yep. So you get fired. Like you said, it's hard to feel sorry for somebody when they're making nearly $1 million a month to not do anything.
And as I was listening to a podcast yesterday, they also, put into context that he'll most likely walk into, a college job and at a good college, and because of the way that it is, if he went into another NFL gig, whatever he was getting paid there would come off that payment from the Panthers, but because it's not in the NFL, so he'll be basically getting double his pay. So yeah. He's probably far better off for being fired, which you don't see happen very often.
Yeah.
So our next game is the Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. How do you see this one?
I'm going to take Arizona. Again, kind of two disappointing teams so far this year. It's Arizona is kind of, they think we all thought that this would be a super tough division, but a lot of the teams really haven't been that great so far, really besides the 49ers. So it is an interdivision game. They are playing in Seattle, but I think I'll just have to say that Arizona might squeak out of there with a win. We've seen Seattle score a ton, and then we've also seen Seattle be poor. So you're kind of on the Geno Smith coin there, flipping which Geno Smith you're going to get for that game. Like I said, Seattle is at home, but I think Arizona probably pulls this one out to kind of keep their season afloat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm taking the Cardinals as well. The Seahawks have definitely been going better than I expected after losing Wilson, but I think Murray has a good game, and the Cardinals get up in a fairly close one. I don't think this is going to be much in it.
Okay, so our next two games are kind of the games of the week. I'm really interested in these two games. So our 4:00 national game is 4:30, I should say, is the Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs, a rematch of the playoffs last year.
Yep, I think this is going to be a fantastic game. A real hot take there. But two really good teams, two really good quarterbacks. I am taking the Chiefs based solely on the fact that they're at home. I think this one could go either way. But yeah, Kansas City for me.
It's kind of hard because Buffalo has played comeback this year where they've come back against good team. They've also shown how well of a high flying offense they are. On the other hand, Kansas City, they were kind of getting beat around last week, and they still came back and won. So Kansas City is that team where until that clock hits 0, they always have a chance to come back and win, especially with that offense. So, Buffalo had them beat last year. Had they, their defense hadn't give up, that Travis Kelce pass there at the end to tie it, and then, the Bills didn't even get a chance to possess it in overtime. I think the Bills are going to want some revenge here. So I'm looking forward to a fantastic game. I'm hoping it's like a 38-35 last-minute field goal type game where we get, 4 or 5 touchdowns each team. Mahomes and Allen do late magic again. But I think the Bills are coming in with a chip on their shoulder. But like I said, if they get up, 14, 17, nothing, they can't let up on the gas, because once you let KC back in this game, that's trouble. Because then you will have to keep scoring, because once KC kind of gets the better of you in one drive, then they know how to beat you for the rest of the game. But I think Buffalo goes in and sort of redeems himself from last year.
Yep. All right. We used to see how that one pans out. So next one is Dallas Cowboys at Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, you would think that this would be an easy win for the Eagles. I still am going to pick the Eagles. We have been super impressed by Dallas so far to stay in this division race, especially now with the Giants. So we have 3 teams who are all right there in first place, and one of them's undefeated. You would think if you were 5-0 to begin the year, you'd have at least a 2-game lead on your division, but you have 2 teams breathing down your neck, and you have to win these division games to stay above. I'm going to pick the Eagles. Probably the fact that they're playing at home. They obviously have won all their away games, but Jalen Hurts and all that, I think that they'll feel much better playing in Philadelphia, having to have Cooper Rush there on the road. So I'm going to take Philly in this one.
Look, I am going to also take Philly. I kind of went back and forth on this because Dallas has really impressed me, especially just in context of you. I think we talked about when Dak went down, like they won't win a game until he's back. At least I think I said that. I can't remember what you said. But
we both agreed on that. And I think most of the NFL world thought that,
Yeah. So certainly that's been the case, but I think the Eagles, they're just going to be too strong. Like, it's just, I kind of don't see them losing at the moment. So it's, Eagles in this one.
So our last game for this week is our Monday night game, which is the struggling Denver Broncos, who should still have Russell Wilson, but I don't know if that's a good thing so far.
Yeah.
We have the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football.
Chargers, like with how the Broncos are going, every week I feel like they'll turn it around. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen. And the Chargers being at home, it's not the place you want to be going to try to break.
No. Yeah.
Break out.
This game was, as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought Chargers. I didn't really have any internal struggle right now. We say that, and Denver's going to put up 42 on the Chargers or something like that. You know what I mean? But Russell Wilson, he's going to play hurt. He just doesn't seem like he's reading the offense very well. He's missing wide open wide receivers. They're getting very frustrated playing with him, is what it sounds like. But the Chargers, I think, are a good team. They're playing at home, so they should win. So I'm also taking the Chargers. Besides that, this is when the bye week starts. So the byes this week are the Detroit Lions, the Tennessee Titans, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Houston Texans are on a bye this week. So the Texans can't lose this week. So
good news, Texans.
So those are our picks for this week. So if you please leave your picks down in the comment section below. Let us know how you think these games are going to go. And thanks for checking us out. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, liking this video. But other than that, thank you for joining us. Hope you have a nice day.
Have a good one, guys.